Now, let me ask you on that. I'm sure you've reflected on this. You're obviously thoughtful. You never would have done this to begin with. There are two sort of extremes here. One is the hookup culture, which everybody knows about, and the other is you don't do anything beyond holding hands. To me, they both have their problems. When you got back to Brown, or now that it's 2 years later, because you were a sophomore, now you're a senior?
Right.
Do you have any, not personal misgivings, it's not my business and I don't care, but rather do you have any second thoughts about the easy sex life that modern secular society provides for young people?
Of course. I mean, I think on one hand, I think it's harmful to kids to keep them from exploring that aspect of their romantic lives. But I also think there's something really great about hookup culture, or a culture of dating that concentrates more on getting to know people than making a quick move. And so when I was on these dates, I found myself actually talking to these girls and getting to know them because I could have been Jake Gyllenhaal and they still wouldn't have kissed me. So with that option off the table, I was free to be genuine and earnest and not try to sort of Don Juan, the conversation.
Because no matter what, with all your charm, you weren't going to end up in bed with her.
Exactly. It was completely out of the question. So it was freeing in a way.
Have you said that to peers at Brown?
Yeah, and I think I think they understand. Although I think I would have a hard time convincing people of that here.
Because you're running up against hormones and environment.
Right, and I mean even at Liberty, I think there are a lot of people who sort of kindly disregard the rules.
No, that's fine, but frankly, I hope they do, and don't publicize it. On the other hand, I think that the message that you get to know somebody before you go to bed with them is a good one.
I think so too. I agree with you.
Yeah. Now, so would you say that in some ways Liberty had an effect on you?
Of course. I mean, I think it not only taught me to appreciate the humanity of conservative Christians I met there, because I made some really good friends that I've kept to this day, even though I still disagree with them on a lot of things. But it also sort of affected my own sense of faith and where I stand with that. I mean, I never had a road to Damascus conversion moment, but I do still try to pray every morning, and I think that's something that I'll keep.
Wow. Plus, also your attitude toward dating.
Right, exactly, and it changed me in 1,000 ways, big and small. I now know more about the Bible than I used to. I think it's important for college students especially to know about the Bible, even if they don't believe it's the Word of God, even if it's only as a piece of literature. It's sort of our foundational text, and so I think, I didn't know anything about it, and I really regret that now.
All right, you're there's too much to talk about. I'm going to keep you on a little more, okay?
Sure.
Yeah, I had a feeling you'd say sure, but I wanted to be polite. But we'll be back in a moment. Kevin Roose. Imagine that 4 months. Wouldn't it be great if they swapped? Every university did this. The book is The Unlikely Disciple. It's up at Prager Radio. I'll be back in a moment. I'm Dennis Prager. Hi, everybody. Final couple of minutes here with Kevin Roose. The unlikely disciple, Brown University student, decides to do something I think very, very important and very gutsy. It's sad that it's gutsy, but it was. Decided to go to a Christian college for a semester, and it apparently had quite a number of effects. See, it's interesting. Had you come back and had your road to Damascus, I think it would have been less powerful for the reader. I'm sure, obviously, many Christians would have been delighted, but it would have been less powerful for the rest of us because you more typify, I think, you stand as every man, as it were, in that you really were affected, although you didn't obviously buy the entire theology, well, that's the word, entire theology, which is a very interesting and important thing. I lament, Kevin, deeply the utter ignorance of religion. You were pointing this out. You mentioned Road to Damascus. How many students at Brown know what the Road to Damascus means?
I'm not sure. You'd have to quiz them. But I do think that religious literacy is hugely important, because to get along, to be able to work with, even to work with conservative Christians on issues like climate change and poverty reduction, you have to be able to speak their language. You have to know who you're talking to, what their assumptions are, and it's a sort of literacy that will really help us in the coming years. And I think it's hugely important that we learn to reach out and cross these boundaries.
Well, yeah, that's a sweet line, and I certainly agree with you. But that's more of a good operative system to get your own values across to others. I think the tragedy is this country was founded with biblical literacy. Not to know the Bible is not to know how America was founded. I mean, our founding documents are just filled with references to biblical ideas, like the Liberty Bell, with a quote from Leviticus. I'm not sure that most students at Brown would even know what Leviticus was.
Right, or most students at secular universities. I don't mean to malign Brown. I think it's a wonderful
You're right.
place.
I'm only using Brown. That's fine. At my Columbia or UCLA, where the prestigious university that I live closest to, it doesn't matter where. Or the University of North Dakota, it doesn't matter. It's a terrible thing. It has been a break with our founding. One doesn't know what it is to be an American, not to know the Bible. And so that's more than, well, now I'll be able to talk to Christians with greater understanding and literacy.
No, but I really do think that is the most important thing, because I really hope that we are on a path away from this divided culture war, this God divide that pits people against each other on their deepest beliefs, and really is nasty about the way that public discourse is conducted. I really hope that we can, once we learn how to talk to each other, we can actually approach each other with a spirit of kindness, and I think that sounds a little fluffy, but I really think that, now I have all these conservative Christian friends that I can talk to and disagree with without being disagreeable, because
name your
them.
Single biggest disagreement on social policy or whatever, or any issue you want. What's your biggest one?
I have a bunch. I mean,
what's your bunch?
I'm predictably liberal on things like same-sex marriage and abortion. But what's been fascinating to see is that if I had just come into liberty guns a-blazing and said, I am pro-choice and I am pro same-sex marriage, there's no way anyone would have listened to me. But now that I've built rapport with these students and they know me and they know that I'm a good guy, they're willing to listen, and we can have
Agreed. Let me just ask you then on abortion. Pro-choice is a legal matter. Morally, do you feel that there is any issue whatsoever about the taking of a human fetus's life?
Of course.
Oh, you do. So you are at least you're morally ambivalent.
Oh, of course. I mean, I think that it's disingenuous to suggest that anyone doesn't have issues with it. I think
it's not disingenuous. I don't think that 90% of the people who are pro-choice are prepared to say that any abortion is immoral.
Well, that's why I call it pro-choice and not pro-abortion.
No, you didn't hear what I said. No. You didn't. No, please listen again.
Right.
I do not believe there is any ambivalence on the part of the vast majority of pro-choice people about the morality of abortion. I think that they would not be prepared to say that any abortion is immoral.
Well, I'm not sure. I can't speak for everyone, but I know for me, I realize it's a hugely complex issue.
Okay, good. And, but I think in that regard, you're in a very small minority, and it's worth your asking tomorrow back at Brown. Ask friends who are pro-choice, do you think there is any moral problem with an abortion where the mother's life is not endangered?
I think you get a range of responses.
Okay.
But,
well, it would be interesting. And
I think you're probably right.
Okay, listen. Certainly, the book is self-recommending, The Unlikely Disciple, and good luck to you, Kevin.
Thanks so much, Dennis.